Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co., and today I'm reviewing Redwood from Sit Down Games. Redwood is a 1 to 4 player game of capturing that perfect shot out in nature. This is, by the way, a prototype, rules, components, all that stuff subject to change, and I'll have a link to the crowdfunding campaign down below. But like I said already, this is a 1 to 4 player game of trying to find and capture that perfect shot. You are all playing as photographers, playing across 5 rounds of play in which you're going to wander around the board slowly but surely, trying to figure out where you're going to move and which camera lens you're going to use as you try to capture that perfect shot, gathering as many points as possible across, well, 5 photos. 5 photos, each one taken per round per player, as you try to figure out how to optimize your score around a whole bunch of different scoring criteria. In the game, what you're going to do is you're going to start on a round. You're basically going to go ahead and pre-select a movement and a shot, judging based on looking at this. You're going to go ahead and look at these boards. You're going to judge, what am I going to do? What am I going to pick? Which thing makes the most sense for me? You can't actually try to line things up. You have to kind of judge based on your eyes, based on looking at the board, figuring out what you're going to do, and then grabbing the associated dial thing, whatever it is. You're going to go ahead and grab the thing. So let's say, for example, let's say I'm playing as the green photographer over here, and I try to estimate that I think I'm going to want to use this one over here. I'm going to use this little dial over here, and then I think I want to get that shot. I think I want a somewhat long angle. I'm going to go with this one over here. So again, you're trying to make estimations and figure out what you need to do. From there, you're going to take these over here. You're going to attach this to your person on the board, making sure not to move him around, and then figure out where you can move, not crossing other animals or photographers in your quest for that perfect angle. We're going to go ahead, you know what, I don't even know here. I may have messed this up. We'll figure out what we can do. Let's go ahead and try to get over here. This is what I'm going to try to do over here. And we're going to take our other person, move them onto that spot, and then move this around, and now there you go, you're on the board. From there, you're done with actually lining up who your person is, and now it's time to line up that shot. So let's go ahead and take this, put it on the person, and again, same idea. We're trying to clip a perfect shot on the board. I think I underestimated how long this angle was, which means I'm probably going to get messed up over there. Let's see if I can try to pivot down over here. If I do it here, that's better. Let's go ahead and do this over here, lining it up like so, and then we're going to go ahead and gather those angles. So we're going to draw a line over here, down here. We're going to select this. This is in the green panorama, so we're going to select the green panorama. We are covering it with the flower here, so we're going to put that flower onto the picture. We have the fox over there, or wolf or whatnot. So again, we're going to gather that, put it onto another spot. We have the bear. So we're going to grab the bear, put it down over here, and then lastly we are covering a tree underneath there. So we have all 4 spots on our picture taken, and we're going to go ahead and put that down over here. That's the basic idea of the game. You're trying to figure out the shot you can line up that will gather you the most points, with flowers generally being worth 1 point, trees being worth 2 points, animals being worth a variable number of points from 3 to the elk and the bear, all the way down to 1 for that little squirrel over there, so different between 1 and 3 points per animal, and then trying to figure out other scoring criteria, because you're going to have objective cards being revealed every single round that are going to give you different things to manage and try to build around as you try to line up the most efficiently scoring shot in the game. Things like avoiding flowers, avoiding animals, which movement dial do you use, capturing things within the perfect dial within the perfect hole of your target over there. There's going to be a bunch of different scoring options you're trying to manage as you move around, try to get that perfect shot, and then score your points. And then additionally, you're trying to go for a panorama. You're trying to line up a panorama of matching photos as you go, which means you're going to want to try to get one of every single scenery so you can actually have that perfect panorama, which will score you an extra 15 points. But you have to weigh that up against all the other scoring criteria in play. When is it worth doubling down that? When is it not? When do you care about the fact that some of the scoring cards have potentially 4 things you can have on them, versus some only have 2, and is it worth that trade-off? Are you making sure to gather that sun over here? Making sure to get 1 shot with the sun will give you extra points, but getting 2 of them will actually not. And so you're trying to juggle a whole bunch of different scoring criteria while you try to figure out where to move, guesstimating the shot and the movement, and then trying to take into account all the scoring criteria as you try to score the perfect shot in Redwood. That's basically how you play the game. A few other small things we didn't get into. There's a solo mode, there's a team mode, there's an advanced scoring mode in which you're going to flip these over and then have additional scoring criteria on these cards using specific types of rulers or shot angles to get that perfect shot. Whole bunch of other things going on, but that's the core concept and gameplay of Redwood. So, what do I think of this game? Let's start off with ease of play. Ease of play is incredibly easy to dive into. Rulebook is fairly short, to the point. There's a page for the team rules, page for the solo mode rules, but everything is very easy to understand and dive into. A full page going over all the objective cards, how those score. You're going to be unlocking 1 per round. Again, whole thing is very clear, overall easy to get into, and the game plays in roughly 45 minutes. As far as what I don't like and can see others not liking, as far as what I like, don't like, and can see others not liking, starting off with the guesstimation aspect. The entire puzzle of this game, and this is very in line with sit-down games, by the way. Sit-down games, in general, a lot of the games have I want to use the word gimmicks in them, specific ways that they feel different, something about them that feels unique or different from games like Dive to Pachamama to Magic Maze. Any other games have different little criteria behind how they work that makes them a little bit of a different, unique puzzle, and that's very much true in Redwood as well. This time leaning into these little dials as far as how you're going to guesstimate your movement and your shot, trying to take into account what everything will look like, trying to take into account the distance, the obstacles in your way, try to take into account all the other things you have to juggle and balance in the game, and being mindful of the fact that other players are also going to be shifting their animals. Whenever you capture an animal in a shot, you're moving that around the board somewhere else to one of its preferred biomes in the game, and that's going to mess with your plan as far as how you capture those animals. One thing I didn't talk about is one of the many scoring criteria juggling is the fact that getting as many animals as possible, as many different animals in your shots, will score more points as well. And so you're trying to juggle all of that in the game, and in general, you have a lot of ways to score points, and it's up to you to try to figure out, in addition to the guesstimation, and this is in addition to picking the right dial, trying to figure out which way you can combine things to score as many points as possible. Sometimes you want to get that perfect panorama. Sometimes getting extra points because you got other things in the way along the way is worth it. Sometimes getting that extra objective card is worth the trade-off of getting lower scoring animals. Everything in this game has a lot of stuff that you're going for as far as how you're going to score points between your shots, between the you're taking only 5 photos the entire game, and you can end up with anywhere between 40 points to like 90 plus points in the game, depending on how well you optimize around that puzzle. And additionally, when you miscall that estimation, going back to what I like about this guesstimate aspect, when you miscall that guesstimate and you have to pivot and adjust your strategy because you didn't move far enough or something else was in your way, you have to suddenly change what you're going to go ahead and shoot with your camera angle, with your lens. All of that is an enjoyable puzzle as far as micromanaging different scoring criteria with a guesstimation puzzle along the way. As far as what I don't like in the game, the overall game experience is a drop fiddlier than I would like compared to the payoff that the game gives. Between trying to pull, and again, prototype components over here, but between pulling the various things out of the board, moving them around, setting up all these dials before the game, setting up like 2 full dashboards, using a little shoelace string as far as managing when you have to try to figure out where your biome actually is. There's a lot going on as far as things to manage, and I think the overall experience is, and even just the storage of these, like I don't know what the final game will be like as far as storing these, as far as all that, but everything is a drop fiddlier than I would like comparative to the actual full experience it gives. Secondly is the game is on the lighter side. Overall, it's a fun puzzle as far as trying to navigate all these things, but it's one of those things that once you've gotten a few games under your belt, that fun puzzle has that nuance, that innovative aspect, the freshness of what this game is doing and how it's a little different compared to your usual experience does wear off a bit after a few games, at least for myself. And what you're left with is a game that is on the lighter side with a great gimmick, a very compelling gimmick, one that I think that will make this game a lot of fun for people who want a lighter experience, but one that for me, once that lighter experience is once that I have a few games and the innovativeness of it has worn off, I find myself wanting a little bit something deeper than this. As far as I can see others not liking, first of all, that same guesstimation aspect that I enjoy, I can see others finding it frustrating. Trying to grab this little tile and figure out how far you can move and realizing that you're moving far less than you actually thought you were and your camera lens is not as long as you thought, that to me is part of the fun puzzle and appeal of Redwood, but it might make this something that you're find it frustrating or not enjoyable because you are going to have to frequently pivot and adjust your strategy until you get a better handle for how far these things move you. Secondly, there's a degree of minor take that in the experience as players specifically take photos of animals and then move them around to the board somewhere out of your range such that you can't get the perfect shot, which is made even more frustrating if you're actually playing with people who are paying attention to what you need and that last 7th animal that you need to get in your shot and you just find that you can't get it. Again, there's a minor degree of take that as players rearrange things in a way that is specifically and intentionally frustrating. And then lastly, and this one I think it depends on who you are, but this game is not the most photographically accurate in terms of the way wide-angle lenses work and short-angle lenses. The nature of the game, and this is just a technical thing for those who actually know or appreciate photography, but the nature of the game is sometimes you're taking a photo in a very low-angle lens to try to capture a wide array around you, but you end up shooting across the board because that's the biome you end up getting in a way that is just not thematically accurate to the way photos would be taken. Or even just the nature of the fact that when you use a lens, if you take it from your opponent, it changes the whole, there's a point aspect of giving your opponent points when you take the lens they just used, or the aspect of moving around the board and committing to the lens before you moved. Ultimately, it's a few small immersion breaking things that just the way this experience plays out compared to the way real photography will play out, that you have to kind of buy into the experience over a pure, yeah, that's how photography is handled. As far as final thoughts on Redwood, overall, I enjoyed this puzzle. Overall, Redwood is a fun game of trying to figure out where to line up the shot, where to take that shot, and how to navigate and guesstimate and then min-max your point scoring with a combination of, well, this whole puzzle, but also with the point scoring you might expect from another, well, point optimization experience. This manages to be unique and innovative while taking all the general, again, point scoring aspects that might be more familiar and give you a puzzle that is enjoyable, different, compelling in a variety of ways, with giving you team play, solo mode, and then increased difficulty along the way. The experience is a little lighter once you're done with the innovative aspect, which is the biggest con for me, but overall this is one that I can see others enjoying tremendously as far as being something very different, very unique on the table, and managing to have a degree of table appeal that will pull people in because they kind of want to do the thing. This is one of those games you can't help but want to try it yourself when you see someone else playing it. Overall, it's a 3.5 out of 5 for me. A good game on the lighter side, but with a lot of things done innovatively, which is very much sit-down's modus operandi, as it were. As far as other game recommendations, if you're looking for a nature experience that is a little different in terms of the way it's handled, Meadow is a solid game of also point optimization, but with a very different puzzle behind it. And if you're looking for something else that's a little like pretty and nature based, but with a degree of trying to line things up, Tang Garden has a different way of handling line of sight and getting things in your view that might be compelling in its own different way. In any case, then until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. I hope you found this video helpful, and as always, I hope you have a good one.